now, a word from your professor.
Hello, everyone. I am your professor, Leif Erikson. That is my real name. There's a story behind that, if you want to ask. I wanted to introduce myself and say welcome to the class and also explain some things about the class because it is a bit different, I know. I've been teaching a long time now, and I found that if I teach the same class for years and years, I just can't do it. Brain doesn't work that way. So, I don't know, every few years I would try to redo my class in some way, try to update it, do something that's relevant, that's provocative, that is inspiring, something besides just, let's write the same old college essay. You think about how boring those are to write. Imagine grading them over and over. So when AI came along, I was like, this is going to change my job forever in my life. Really, I'm a writer. And so I was like, what do I do about this? I can run from it. I can say, don't use it, ban it, I could be afraid of it. I could shut down. I could ignore it. But all of those seem like not the way to go. To me, as an educator, I feel like educators in general should be out in front of things that are as huge to society as AI is. So I thought, why not dive in and try to understand and maybe teach students how to use it in a way that doesn't destroy the brain and rob you of your creativity and your critical thinking skills. Is that possible? Well, as you'll see in the book, I think it is possible. I think all powerful tools have power for great good and great evil, and AI is no exception. So it's here. It's not going anywhere. So I built a class around it a few semesters ago. I thought, how do humans define meaning? How do we find meaning? Well, there's lots of answers to that, of course, but I believe one of the ways is through problem solving. We uncover one problem and try to solve it, and in trying to solve it, we learn other things, and we discover other problems that need solving. And that just sort of unfolds endlessly. And so there's an endless amount to learn and an endless amount to grow. It's like, why not build a class around solving the problems of AI? Because there are many. As I do believe in its potential for transforming a lot of life for the good, but that means it also has a lot of potential for transforming a lot of life for the bad. And there are a lot of problems with AI and how we deal with it. It's definitely a disruption of life. And so I decided to build this class around addressing some problems that are associated with the advent and spread of AI technology. And so that's what we do in this class, essentially, is after we learn a little bit about how to use AI and how not to use it as a writing assistant, then we turn our attentions to those problems of AI. You'll see there are 5 areas we look at: bias and discrimination, deepfakes and misinformation, cheating and plagiarism, job displacement, and military matters, warfare and things like that. There are lots more issues that are problems of potential problems of AI that we could have addressed. As you'll see in the book, I give a list of other things you could also look at, like accessibility, environmental impact. There are lots of problems and disruptions with AI that could be addressed. In the class I designed, we learned about each of those problems, those 5 areas, and then you, the student, get to choose the one that you want to focus on for the rest of the semester. Think of it as choosing a major. You'll choose one of those problems that interests you the most, or that provokes you the most, or whatever it is that draws you, and you'll run with that the rest of the semester, and I'll help guide you in researching it and learning about it, and eventually proposing a solution to that problem and trying to write it in such a way that convinces someone that they should try this solution and why they should. And that's the whole point of the semester. So along comes a publisher not too long ago and was like, would you like to turn this into a book? Well, yes, but I don't want to just put my class in a book. That seems like a pointless sort of lateral move. So this book ended up being a labor of love. I put so much into this. I'm not saying in terms of quality, you'll have to decide that for yourself, but the book that I wrote for this class is, you'll see it's 400 pages, but you do not have to read 400 pages, I promise. I'll explain that in a minute. But the book it turned into this labor of love. I don't know how else to put it. I loved writing it. I poured myself into it. I obsessed on it. Oh, and the conditions under which I wrote it, I had an injured arm. I was trying to sell a house and buy a house because I kind of had to. It's a long story. And also 100 other things I won't even go into here. It would take too long, but someday I'm going to write a book about this year. But I got the book done, and I put so much of myself into it, and so much of my love for writing and thinking, and my love for writing and thinking critically about AI and using AI in ethical ways that make sense for you and your boundaries and limits and what you want to achieve, using AI to help accomplish those things. So that's what the book is. Now let's talk about it. So I will say, just stay in touch with me if you're having trouble and you need to come up with the funds to get the book and you're waiting to be paid or whatever it is. In general, you will find me flexible on deadlines if you stay in touch with me, if you just stay in touch. I love communicating with my students. And if I ever don't get back with you, then that just means I got ADD, true, and I missed it or it fell down in the email. So don't be afraid to follow up, but like always reach out to me, and especially on deadlines. And so if you're having trouble getting the book immediately, you will need the book, by the way. You can't do the course without the book, unfortunately, but get the book when you can, and stay in touch with me if that's going to make you late on deadlines. I don't want the book to be a stressor to anybody. So get it when you can. Stay in touch with me if that's going to make you late on things. So just stay in touch with me is the key.
So how does the book work?
Well, like I said, you do not have to read this book all the way through. You only have to read the first 3 chapters completely through, as far as like a traditional textbook. And then we skip to the workbook, which is part 2 of the book. And that is where we start digging into those 5 areas of AI problems that I was talking about, and doing that thing of like learning about them and then choosing one. The workbook guides you through all of that. So even the workbook, you don't have to read all of, because once you choose your chosen problem. So remember, we learn about 5 areas of problems. And then let's say you go, you know what really interests me is deepfakes and misinformation. I don't know what I want to say about it yet, but that one draws me. Well, okay. Then you choose that part of the book and you get to skip the other 4 sections. So you're not going to be reading. Once we delve into your chosen major topic, then you can let the other stuff go pretty much. Of course, you can read the entire book, of course. Now, what is the rest of the guidebook for? You're like, okay, we only read the 30 chapters of the guidebook, then we skip to the workbook. So what's all that other guidebook for? Well, that is the writing process from beginning to end, by the way, is what I do in the book. And I use and talk about AI building on the foundation of the first 3 chapters. So in other words, let's say later on in the semester, you're having trouble brainstorming and free writing ideas for what you want to say in your proposal. You're at that point later. Now you can go back to chapter 5 of the guidebook. It's a whole chapter on pre-writing. It's called Putting the Pre Back in Pre-Writing. So I'm not going to assign you that chapter as far as a grade, but I may recommend you go read it. If you say, I'm having trouble coming up with ideas, or, you're starting to draft and you go, I need to get something on the page, but I'm overwhelmed. Guess what? Chapter 6 is about getting a draft off the ground. So it's like that. The rest of that guidebook isn't required reading. It is there as a help for you in terms of how to do certain writing skills in the process and how to use AI ethically and reasonably to lighten your workload, to help you with things you're confused about, to learn things, but also to not let it take things from you that you don't want to give away. So that's how the book is designed. So don't let the number of pages overwhelm you. But a lot of it is exercises too. So in the guidebook, a lot of times there's like a billion exercises, but the person doesn't have to go through and do each one of those. You can go down the list and go, well, that one seems interesting. I'm going to do that one. That one seems interesting. I'm going to do that one, and ignore the rest. And in those chapters where you're diving in because you want to learn more, you don't have to do all those exercises. And even in the chapters we are reading, notice in the first 3 chapters, I specify that you only have to do some of those exercises. A couple of places I say, do one of these and choose one of these. Choose this or that. Just pay attention to the instructions, because I always try to be very clear. Because one last thing about the book is, your professor, one of the problems is I had trouble with things like numbering within chapters, and it got very confusing. And in the second edition, I'm going to have to fix that because I'm not good at that thing. So I try to be very specific about where I want you to work in the chapter so that crazy numbering won't interfere. Please reach out to me with questions. And if I didn't cover something in this video that you want to know, please, by all means, ask me. A lot of people begin their emails and correspondence with, sorry to bother you, but let me just let you know. You can say that if you need to, but you're not bothering me. What you're doing is keeping the communication lines open between us, which I value. Thank you, and have a great day.